I always knew when a seizure was coming. The metallic taste in my mouth, the way colors seemed too bright, and that feeling of déjà vu that washed over me like a wave. But lately, I'd grown more afraid of my mother's reaction than the seizures themselves. My name is Rachel, and I was diagnosed with epilepsy at 16. That's when everything changed, not because of the condition, but because of my mother's obsession with proving I was faking it. She's doing this for attention, Mom would tell anyone who would listen. Ever since her father left, she's been pulling these stunts. That particular Tuesday in March started like any other. I was sitting in the hospital's waiting room for my regular neurology appointment, my mother scrolling through her phone beside me. The familiar aura started creeping in. That warning signal that told me I had minutes, maybe seconds. "Mom," I whispered, my voice already feeling distant. "It's happening." She didn't even look up. "Of course it is. Right here in the hospital where everyone can see. How convenient." The fluorescent lights above began to pulse and swim. I gripped the armrests of my chair, trying to ground myself. "Please, help." "Rachel, enough." She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "You're embarrassing me." That's the last thing I clearly remember before the seizure took hold. What happened next, I would later see on the security footage that changed everything. According to the witnesses and video, I slid from the chair as the convulsions began. Instead of helping me or calling for assistance, my mother yanked me up by my arm, screaming that I was putting on a show. "Get up." Her voice sounded like it was coming through water. I'm sick of this attention-seeking behavior. Through the fog of the seizure, I felt myself being dragged. My head hit something. Later I'd learn it was the corner of a coffee table. Blood began pooling on the waiting room floor. A nurse saw what was happening and rushed over. "Ma'am, stop. She's having a grand mal seizure." "She's faking it," Mom insisted, still trying to force me to stand. "She does this all the time. She just wants people to feel sorry for her." What my mother didn't know was that the hospital had recently installed a new security system with high-definition cameras and audio recording. Every second of her actions was being captured in crystal-clear quality. Dr. Martinez, my neurologist, heard the commotion and came running. "Get a gurney," she shouted, dropping to her knees beside me. "And call security." I drifted in and out of consciousness as they stabilized me. Through the haze, I heard my mother's voice getting more shrill, more defensive. "This is ridiculous. I'm her mother. I know when she's faking. She's been doing this since her father walked out. It's all for attention." "Mrs. Walker," Dr. Martinez's voice was steel cold. "Your daughter has a serious head injury and is in the middle of a documented seizure. Step back, or I will have security remove you. You can't keep me from my daughter. I'm the only one who knows what she's really doing." That's when Dr. Martinez said the words that would change everything. "Actually, we have everything we need to know right here on camera, and I'm legally obligated to report what I've just witnessed." The next few hours were a blur of tests, stitches, and quiet conversations just out of my earshot. When I fully regained consciousness, my mother was gone, and a social worker sat beside my bed instead. "Rachel," she said gently, "we need to talk about what happened today, and about what's been happening at home." I looked at the bandage on my arm where Mom's nails had broken the skin, at the IV delivering anti-seizure medication, and at the concerned faces of the hospital staff. For the first time in years, I felt safe enough to tell the truth. "It's been going on since the diagnosis," I started, my voice barely a whisper. "She doesn't believe me. She says I'm making it up for attention. Sometimes she does things to prove I'm faking." The social worker nodded, taking notes. "The security footage shows what happened today, but we need to know about the other incidents. Are you ready to tell us?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of years of disbelief and abuse pressing down on me. "Yes," I said. "I think it's time everyone knew the truth." The hospital room felt smaller as I began sharing my story. The social worker, Ms. Collins, recorded everything while Dr. Martinez reviewed my medical history on her tablet. The first time she tested me, I said, my hands twisting in the hospital blanket, was 3 months after my diagnosis. She secretly replaced my anticonvulsant medication with sugar pills. Said if I had a seizure, it would prove I was faking because I didn't know they weren't real meds. Dr. Martinez's head snapped up. "That explains the unexplained spike in seizure activity last year." I nodded. "I had 3 grand mal seizures that week. When I came to, she'd be standing over me, asking if I was done with the performance. Once, I dislocated my shoulder during a fall. She waited 2 hours before taking me to the ER, saying I needed to think about what I'd done. Miss Collins's pen moved rapidly across her notepad. Did anyone else in your family know about this? My Aunt Sarah tried to help, I said, blinking back tears. She saw Mom hiding my medication once and threatened to report her. The next day, Mom told everyone Aunt Sarah had a drinking problem and couldn't be trusted. Nobody's heard from her since. The door opened and a police detective entered, carrying a laptop. Rachel, I'm Detective Morrison. We've reviewed the security footage from today, but we found something else concerning. Your mother tried to access your room about an hour ago. The cameras caught her attempting to remove something from her purse before security stopped her. He turned the laptop toward me, showing the footage. There was my mother, trying to slip past the nurse's station, her hand clutching something in her designer bag. That's her proof kit, I said quietly. Her what? Dr. Martinez asked. She carries things to test me during seizures. Ammonia capsules, pins, sometimes ice water. Says if I react, I'm faking it. I pulled up my sleeve, revealing small circular burns. She used to press cigarettes against my arm during episodes, saying a real seizure wouldn't make me flinch. The room fell silent. Detective Morrison closed his laptop slowly, his jaw tight. Rachel, he said, we've contacted your father in Colorado. He's flying in tonight. I hadn't seen my dad in 3 years. After the divorce, Mom had convinced everyone he was abusive, that he couldn't be trusted around me. Like everything else, it had been a lie. Your mother told the staff he lost his parental rights, Dr. Martinez said. We've confirmed that's false. She forged documents to keep him away. A knock at the door made us all turn. A nurse entered with a tablet. Dr. Martinez, the results from the talk screen are in, and you need to see this. The doctor took the tablet, her expression darkening as she read. Rachel, your blood shows traces of multiple substances that aren't prescribed to you. Sedatives, anti-anxiety medications. She said they were vitamins, I whispered. Every morning with breakfast. Said they'd help with my attention-seeking behavior. Detective Morrison was already on his phone. I need a warrant issued immediately. And send a unit to 1847 Maple Street. We need to search that house. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. More police, more doctors, more questions. They photographed my burns, documented old injuries, took statements about years of medical manipulation. Around midnight, I heard a familiar voice in the hallway, my father's. He burst into the room, his face pale and drawn. 3 years older, but still the dad who used to hold me through the worst seizures, who never once doubted me. Rachel, he choked out, rushing to my bedside. Oh God, baby, I'm so sorry. I should have fought harder. Should have known something was wrong when she wouldn't let me talk to you. I fell into his arms, sobbing. She said you didn't want me anymore, that you called me crazy, like her sister. Never, he whispered fiercely. I've been fighting for you every day. Your Aunt Sarah, too, she's been helping me try to prove something was wrong. Miss Collins cleared her throat gently. Mr. Kennedy will need to discuss temporary custody arrangements, given the circumstances and the pending charges. Charges? I looked up. Detective Morrison nodded grimly. Medical abuse, child endangerment, assault, falsifying documents, administering unauthorized substances. Your mother's going to face serious consequences. The security footage alone. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of years of gaslighting and abuse finally lifting. My father's hand was warm in mine, real and solid and safe. What happens now? I asked. Now, Dr. Martinez said firmly, you focus on healing, both physically and emotionally. We'll adjust your medication, your real medication, and start fresh. With doctors who believe you, family who supports you, and a mother who can never hurt you again. For the first time in years, I felt the knot in my chest begin to loosen. The security cameras hadn't just caught my mother's actions. They captured my liberation. 6 months after the hospital incident, I sat in a courtroom watching my mother being led away in handcuffs. She turned to look at me one last time, her face a mask of betrayal and anger. Even now, she believed she was the victim. The evidence against her had been overwhelming. The search of our house revealed years of hidden journals detailing her tests and interventions. a methodical record of abuse disguised as maternal concern. They found stockpiles of medications she'd withheld, videos she'd recorded of my seizures while refusing to help, and correspondence with online groups that encouraged her behavior. 8 years, the judge had pronounced, with mandatory psychiatric evaluation and treatment. My father squeezed my hand as we left the courthouse. Aunt Sarah walked on my other side, her sobriety medallion catching the sunlight. Another of Mom's lies exposed. Sarah had never had a drinking problem. "You did it, sweetheart," Dad said proudly. "You stood up and told the truth." The truth had been harder and easier than I'd expected. Harder because facing the full scope of Mom's abuse meant acknowledging how much of my life had been built on lies. Easier because once I started speaking, the words wouldn't stop. My new neurologist, Dr. Chen, had helped piece together the medical timeline. Years of intentionally triggering seizures had caused real damage. The unnecessary medications Mom had forced on me had complicated my condition. But with proper treatment, I was finally gaining control. 3 months seizure-free, I said, touching the medical alert bracelet I now wore proudly instead of hiding it, as Mom had insisted. Dr. Chen says if we maintain the current medication schedule, I might be able to start driving next year. Sarah smiled. "And how's the support group going?" I joined a group for survivors of medical abuse, discovering I wasn't alone. There were others whose parents had manipulated their illnesses, fabricated symptoms, or denied real conditions. We were healing together. It helps, I admitted. Especially now that I'm getting ready for college. That was my newest victory. With my seizures properly controlled and my mother's financial abuse exposed, I qualify for multiple scholarships. In the fall, I'd be starting pre-med classes. Your mother's insurance finally paid up too, Dad mentioned as we reached the car. The claims she blocked all those years. The insurance investigation had revealed how Mom had systematically denied coverage for my epilepsy treatments while submitting claims for unnecessary procedures she demanded. The settlement would cover my medical expenses for years. Back at Dad and Sarah's house, my home now, I went to my room to change. The walls were painted in calm blues and greens, no more of the stark white Mom had insisted would show if I was faking a fall. My medication sat openly on my nightstand, not hidden away like a shameful secret. My phone buzzed with messages from the support group. "Saw the news about your mom's sentencing. Proud of you, warrior. You did it. Freedom feels amazing, doesn't it? Starting college and putting your abuser away. You're my hero." I smiled, remembering how Mom used to check my phone, deleting any messages that mentioned my condition. Now I had a whole network of supporters, friends who understood both the trauma and the triumph. Sarah knocked on my door. "Feel like celebrating? Your dad's grilling, and I made the epilepsy-friendly chocolate cake you love. No more of Mom's special food that left me dizzy and confused. No more meals withheld as punishment for attention-seeking seizures." "Be right there," I called, changing into comfortable clothes. Through my window, I could see Dad at the grill, talking with Dr. Martinez, who'd come to celebrate with us. She'd been instrumental in building the case against Mom, testifying about the hospital incident and years of medical inconsistencies. My phone buzzed again, a reminder for my evening medication. I took it without hesitation, no longer hearing Mom's voice calling me weak or dramatic. My condition wasn't a character flaw or a bid for attention. It was just part of me finally being properly treated. On my desk sat my acceptance letter to medical school, next to a photo of me with my support group. Below them was a newspaper clipping about the case. "Mother sentenced in medical abuse case. Hospital cameras reveal years of torment." The security cameras had caught 1 day of abuse, but they'd exposed years of truth. They'd shown the world what I'd been trying to tell them all along. More importantly, they'd shown me that I deserved to be believed, to be treated, to be safe. As I headed downstairs to join my real family, the ones who supported my health instead of sabotaging it, I touched my medical alert bracelet again. Mom had called my epilepsy fake, but she was the only fake thing in my life. And now, finally, that part of my story was over. The sound of laughter drifted up from the backyard. My new life was waiting, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid to live it. "Oh, look how adorable everyone looks," my mother-in-law gushed, passing around her phone at Sunday dinner. "Olivia, you always organize the most wonderful family photos." I peered over my plate, catching glimpses of my sister-in-law's latest masterpiece, another perfectly coordinated family photo shoot featuring her husband Tom, their 3 kids, and my in-laws. Everyone wore matching cream sweaters, posed artfully in a sunlit meadow. My husband Matt squeezed my hand under the table. He knew what was coming. "When did you take these?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "They're beautiful." Olivia barely glanced up from her wine glass. "Last weekend, just a little something I threw together. You know how I love capturing family memories." Family memories. Right, the same family memories that somehow never included Matt, me, or our 2 children, Emma and Lucas. "Funny," Matt said, his voice tight. "We didn't know about this one either." "Oh," Olivia's eyes widened with practiced innocence. "Did I forget to send you the details? I could have sworn I texted you. You know how hectic things get, organizing 6 people's schedules." 7 years of this. 7 years of forgotten invites, lost text messages, and perfectly curated family photos that excluded our branch of the family tree. When Matt and I first got married, I tried to give Olivia the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she really did forget. Maybe the messages really did get lost. But after 7 years, the pattern was impossible to ignore. "Mom, can we see the pictures?" Emma, my 9-year-old, asked hopefully. My heart clenched as my mother-in-law hesitated before passing her the phone. I watched Emma's face fall slightly as she scrolled through the photos. "Everyone looks so nice," she said quietly. "Even cousin Jake, and he hates pictures." Lucas, my 6-year-old, peered over her shoulder. "How come we're never in the pictures, Mommy?" The table fell silent. My mother-in-law suddenly became very interested in her napkin. My father-in-law cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Because Aunt Olivia keeps forgetting to invite us, buddy," Matt said, his voice carefully controlled but with an edge I recognized. He was done pretending. "Matt," his mother warned, but he shook his head. "No, Mom, we're done dancing around this. Olivia, you've been organizing these photo shoots for years, and not once have you included us. You post them all over social media, send them out as holiday cards, frame them for Mom and Dad's house. And every single time you have some excuse about why we weren't invited." Olivia's perfectly maintained smile tightened. "I told you, I've been trying to include you. It's not my fault if you're too busy with work to make time for family activities." "Too busy?" I couldn't help but laugh. "We've never even had the chance to be too busy. You can't turn down an invitation you never received." "Well," Olivia sniffed, "maybe if you made more of an effort to be involved in family activities." "Like the Sunday dinners we never miss," Matt interrupted. "The birthdays we always celebrate, the holidays we always attend. Those family activities." "Children," my father-in-law started, but Olivia was already standing up, gathering her designer purse and her children's things. "I can see we're not wanted here," she announced dramatically. "Come on, kids. We know when we're not welcome." As she herded her children toward the door, my mother-in-law hurried after her, trying to smooth things over. My father-in-law gave us a disappointed look before following them. Emma and Lucas sat quietly, pushing food around their plates. The sound of car doors slamming, engines starting, and vehicles pulling away filled the awkward silence. "I'm sorry, kids," Matt said finally. "I shouldn't have lost my temper." "Why doesn't Aunt Olivia want us in the pictures?" Lucas asked again, his little voice wobbling slightly. I looked at my children's faces, Emma trying so hard to be brave, Lucas confused and hurt. And something inside me shifted. 7 years of watching my kids feel excluded, of seeing them puzzle over why they weren't good enough to be in the family photos, of watching them internalize the message that they somehow didn't count. "No more." "You know what?" I said, pulling out my phone. "I think it's time we started our own tradition." "What do you mean?" Emma asked. I smiled, already scrolling through local photographers on Instagram. "How would you like to do our own family photo shoot? Something special just for us?" "Really?" Lucas perked up. "Can I wear my superhero cape?" "Absolutely," I said, my mind already racing with ideas. "In fact, I think this photo shoot should be all about showing who we really are as a family." "No matching sweaters?" Emma asked hopefully. Matt laughed, the tension finally breaking. "No matching sweaters. Just us, being ourselves." As we drove home that evening, the kids chattering excitedly about outfit ideas, I couldn't help but smile. Olivia's perfectly posed, color-coordinated photos might be what she considered family memories, but I had something different in mind. Something authentic. Something joyful. Something that would show our children that they didn't need to fit into someone else's picture-perfect mold to be worthy of celebration. I had no way of knowing then that our response to years of exclusion would not only heal our family's wounds, but would also spark a movement that would touch thousands of lives. But that's getting ahead of the story. First, we had a photo shoot to plan, one that would change everything. And Olivia? She had no idea what was coming. The photographer I found, Sofia Martinez, was everything I hadn't expected. Instead of pushing us toward traditional poses and matching outfits, she asked about our family's interests, our personalities, our genuine moments of joy. "Let's create something real," she said during our planning meeting, "something that captures who you truly are." We decided to do the shoot at our home, starting in the kitchen, where our family spent most of our time. Emma in her science apron conducting experiments with baking soda and vinegar. Lucas wearing his favorite cape, flying through the house with flour-covered hands from our Sunday pizza-making tradition. Matt and I in the middle of it all, laughing, messy, and completely ourselves. "These are amazing," Sofia said, showing us previews on her camera. The joy just radiates from every shot. She followed us through our regular Saturday routine. Board games in the living room where we were all fiercely competitive, backyard soccer matches where Lucas insisted on being the referee while wearing his cape, and quiet moments in our reading nook where Emma helped her little brother sound out words. "One more location," I suggested, leading everyone to our garage. Matt raised an eyebrow, but I just smiled. Our garage had become our creation station, as the kids called it. One wall was covered in a massive mural we'd been painting together for months. Each family member had their own section to express themselves. Emma's part was full of planets and stars. Lucas had created a superhero city. Matt added classic cars, and I contributed a garden of wildflowers. "This," Sofia breathed, "this is absolutely perfect." She captured us adding to the mural together, paint on our clothes, faces, and even Lucas's cape. The late afternoon sun streamed through the garage windows, creating a golden glow around our family's artwork. "Mom, can we do one more thing?" Emma asked as we were wrapping up. She whispered her idea in my ear, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "Of course, sweetie." Emma disappeared into the house and returned with a family photo from Olivia's last shoot, the one where we weren't included. She propped it up on a shelf in the garage, then gathered us around our mural. "Can you take a picture of us looking at that photo? But like happy," she asked Sofia, "because we don't need to be in their pictures to be a family." My heart swelled as Sofia positioned us, all of us looking at Olivia's perfect photo while standing in front of our beautifully chaotic mural, covered in paint, Lucas's cape slightly crooked, Emma's science goggles pushed up on her head, Matt and I with our arms around each other. "This is it," Sofia said softly. "This is the story." When the photos came back a week later, I couldn't stop crying. They weren't just pictures. They were moments of pure authenticity. Every image captured something real: the laughter, the mess, the love, the creativity that made our family unique. "These are incredible," Matt said, his voice thick with emotion. "This is us, really us." The kids were ecstatic, pointing out their favorite shots and already asking when we could do it again. But it was Emma's final photo concept that struck me the most, our paint-covered, joy-filled family looking at Olivia's pristine portrait with genuine smiles. It spoke volumes about acceptance, about choosing joy over bitterness, about creating our own happiness. "I want to share these," I said suddenly, "not just as holiday cards, but on social media too, with a message." Matt looked at me carefully. "Are you sure? You know Olivia will see them." "I'm sure," I replied, not to spite her, but to show other families that they don't need to fit some perfect mold to be worth capturing. We decided to create holiday cards first. Instead of the traditional single photo, we made a collage of our various activities: science experiments, pizza making, mural painting, superhero games. At the bottom, we added a simple message: "From our perfectly imperfect family to yours." Then, with the kids' enthusiastic permission, I shared the photos on social media. I wrote about our experience of being excluded from family photos, but instead of focusing on the hurt, I emphasized how it led us to create something authentically ours. Perfect family photos are beautiful, I wrote, but real family moments are magical. Here's to embracing who we truly are, mess and all. I posted it late one evening after the kids were in bed. Matt and I sat together on the couch, both nervous and excited about sharing our story. Neither of us could have predicted what would happen next. By morning, the post had thousands of likes and shares. Comments poured in from families sharing similar experiences of feeling like they didn't fit the perfect family mold. Parents posted their own real family moments, kids mid-tantrum, pets photobombing portraits, meals gone hilariously wrong. "You've started something," Matt said, scrolling through the responses. "Something important." Sophia called mid-morning. "Your photos have gone viral in the photography community," she said excitedly. "Everyone's talking about authentic family photography. I've already had calls from families wanting similar sessions." As the day continued, our story spread further. Parenting websites picked it up. News outlets reached out for interviews, but the most meaningful responses came from families like ours. Families who felt seen and validated by our decision to embrace our reality. And Olivia? Well, that's where things got interesting. The annual family Christmas gathering was 3 weeks after our photos went viral. We hadn't heard directly from Olivia, but through my mother-in-law, I knew she'd seen everything. Our photos had even been featured on a national morning show, in a segment about the importance of authentic family representation. Walking into my in-laws' house that Christmas Eve, I held Matt's hand tightly. Emma and Lucas bounded ahead, excited to show their cousins the superhero cape and science kit they brought along. No more hiding who they were. The atmosphere shifted noticeably when we entered. Olivia was already there, standing by the Christmas tree, her children hovering uncertainly nearby. The usual perfectly coordinated family outfits were missing. Instead, her kids were wearing what looked like clothes they'd chosen themselves. "Aunt Olivia." Lucas ran up to her, cape flying behind him. "Look what I brought for Jake." He pulled out a matching cape from his backpack, holding it up to his cousin. The old Olivia would have sniffed disapprovingly, but something had changed. She knelt down to Lucas's level, examining the cape with genuine interest. "That's very thoughtful of you, Lucas," she said softly. "Jake's been talking about your superhero games ever since he saw the photos." My mother-in-law appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Oh good, everyone's here. Olivia has something she'd like to say." The room fell quiet. Olivia stood up, smoothing her skirt, a nervous gesture I'd never seen from her before. She started, then paused, looking at her own children. "I owe you all an apology, especially Emma and Lucas." The kids stopped their excited chatter, watching their aunt curiously. "Those photos you took," Olivia continued, "they made me realize something. I spent so many years trying to create this perfect image of family, the right clothes, the right poses, the right everything. But when I saw your photos, the joy, the mess, the real moments," she took a deep breath. "I realized what I've been doing to my own children, to all of us." Jake, her oldest, stepped forward. "Mom let us pick our own clothes today," he announced proudly, showing off his dinosaur sweater. "And we made cookies," his sister added. "They're kind of burned, but Mom said that's okay." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. "I've been so focused on appearances that I forgot what family really means. Watching your photos go viral, seeing how many people connected with your realness, it made me ashamed of how I've treated you all." Matt squeezed my hand. I could feel the years of hurt beginning to heal. "Would you?" Olivia hesitated. "Would you help me learn how to capture real moments, not just perfect poses?" Before I could respond, Emma spoke up. "We're painting the last part of our garage mural tomorrow. You could all come help if you want. It's really fun getting messy." The genuine smile that spread across Olivia's face was nothing like her usual practice one. "We've loved that." The rest of the evening was unlike any family gathering we'd had before. The kids played superhero games together, capes flying. Jake showed Emma his own science experiments. The adults shared stories of their most disastrous family photos, laughing together instead of competing. Later, as we were all gathered around the tree, my mother-in-law called for a family photo. Usually this would have been Olivia's cue to arrange everyone perfectly. Instead, she looked at me. "How about we try it your way?" So we did. No posed smiles, no coordinated outfits, just our whole family squeezed together on the couch, kids sprawled across laps, Lucas and Jake in their matching capes, Emma showing her cousins how to make silly putty, genuine laughter all around. That photo now hangs in all our homes, including Olivia's. It's not perfect, someone's eyes are closed, Lucas's cape is covering half of Jake's face, and Emma's science experiment left a stain on the couch. But it's real. It's us. Our story continued to inspire others. Sophia's authentic family photography sessions became so popular, she had to start a waiting list. Olivia and I even collaborated on a blog about embracing imperfect family moments, sharing stories of burnt cookies, failed craft projects, and the beauty found in everyday chaos. But the real victory wasn't in the viral posts or the morning show features. It was in the small moments, watching our children play together without fear of judgment, seeing Olivia relax and laugh genuinely, building new traditions that celebrated who we really were. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about showing others a better way forward. Our perfectly imperfect family photos didn't just change our family's dynamic, they helped us all remember what really matters. And now, every family photo includes all of us. Mess, chaos, superhero capes, and all. I stared at my phone, reading the latest family group chat message from my sister-in-law, Melissa. Can't wait for our annual spring festival next weekend. Just a reminder, it's an intimate family gathering. We want to keep our traditions pure. My heart sank as I watched the responses flood in. Cheerful emojis from cousins, excited replies from aunts and uncles, and my mother-in-law's enthusiastic wouldn't miss it. Everyone was invited. Everyone except us. My name is Maya, and for the past 5 years, I've watched my sister-in-law systematically exclude my family from every cultural celebration. Her reasoning? My mixed heritage would confuse the children about their true culture. Maybe we should just show up, my husband Dan suggested, looking over my shoulder at the messages. But we both knew that would only make things worse. Last time we tried that, Melissa made a scene about gate crashers ruining the authentic experience. The irony wasn't lost on me. The spring festival she was so protective of originated from a celebration of unity and new beginnings. Yet here she was using it to draw lines between family members. Mama, did Aunt Melissa say no again? My daughter Lily's voice pulled me from my thoughts. At 8 years old, she was already too familiar with rejection. Her beautiful face, a perfect blend of her father's European features and my South Asian heritage, reflected the hurt I felt. It's okay, sweetie, I said, pulling her close. We'll have our own celebration. But this year felt different. Maybe it was the way Lily's eyes lingered on photos of her cousins celebrating together, or how my mother-in-law, Martha, had started making excuses for Melissa's behavior. She's just trying to preserve our heritage, dear. You understand, don't you? No, I didn't understand, and I was tired of pretending I did. That evening, as I prepared dinner, an idea began to take shape. Our small town had always lacked cultural events, despite having a surprisingly diverse population. What if, instead of fighting for a place at Melissa's exclusive table, we created something bigger? Something that celebrated not just one culture, but all of them. I called my friend Sophia, who ran the local community center. A multicultural festival, she said, immediately excited. Maya, that's brilliant. We've been looking for something to bring people together. Over the next few days, the idea grew. Sophia connected me with other community members who'd felt similarly isolated. There was Mrs. Patel from the Indian grocery store, who'd been trying to organize cultural dance classes. Mr. Chen from the Asian market, whose New Year celebrations always drew crowds but lacked proper venue space. And Sarah, a local teacher who'd been pushing for more cultural education in schools. We met at my house, spreading ideas across my dining room table. What if we combined everything? Sarah suggested food, dance, music, art. Show people how beautiful it is when cultures come together. The energy in the room was electric. For the first time in years, I felt like I was part of something bigger than myself. This wasn't about proving anything to Melissa anymore. It was about creating the kind of world I wanted Lily to grow up in. Word spread quickly in our small town. People started reaching out, offering to help. The local newspaper ran a story about our plans. Even the mayor expressed interest, seeing an opportunity to promote unity in the community. Of course, news eventually reached my in-laws. I was at the grocery store when I ran into Martha, my mother-in-law. Her face was pinched with concern. Maya, dear, she began, her voice low. Melissa is quite upset. She feels you're trying to overshadow her spring festival. I took a deep breath, remembering all the times I'd stayed quiet to keep the peace. Not this time. Martha, this isn't about Melissa. This is about building bridges, not walls. Your grandchildren deserve to know all parts of their heritage, not just the ones Melissa approves of. But tradition, she started, is meant to bring people together, not tear them apart. I finished. You're welcome to come see for yourself. Everyone is. As I walked away, I felt lighter. Years of trying to fit into Melissa's narrow view of family had weighed me down. Now, watching our festival take shape, I realized we weren't just planning an event. We were creating a new tradition. The day we announced the date of our Cultural Unity Festival, my phone buzzed with a message from Melissa. How dare you schedule this the same weekend as our spring festival? You're trying to destroy our family traditions. I looked at the calendar. Our event was actually the following weekend. I could have pointed out her mistake, but what was the point? Instead, I focused on the growing list of people excited to be part of something new. Each day brought more support. Local businesses offered sponsorship. Artists volunteered to perform. Families signed up to share their traditional foods and crafts. Even Dan's cousins, usually firmly in Melissa's camp, reached out asking how they could help. Mama, can I help teach the kids some dance moves? Lily asked one evening, practicing her classical Indian dance in our living room. Her face glowed with pride, no longer worried about fitting in or being too different. Of course you can, sweetheart, I replied, watching her twirl. This was why we were doing this. Not for revenge, not to prove a point, but to create a space where children like Lily could celebrate all parts of who they are. As the festival drew closer, I couldn't help but wonder how it would all turn out. Would people really come? Would it make any difference in how our family saw us? But looking at Lily's excited face as she helped make decorations, I knew it didn't matter. We'd already won by refusing to let anyone make us feel ashamed of who we are. The week before our Cultural Unity Festival was a whirlwind of activity. Our house had become festival headquarters, with volunteers streaming in and out, carrying decorations, checking lists, and finalizing performances. The energy was infectious. Even our typically quiet street buzzed with anticipation. I was reviewing the food vendor layout when my phone rang. It was Martha again. Maya, I need to talk to you about something. Her voice sounded different, less certain than usual. Some of the family, well, they want to come to your festival. My heart skipped a beat. They're welcome to, I said carefully. Everyone is. It's just Melissa is very upset. She's threatening to cancel the spring festival entirely if people choose your event over hers. Martha sighed deeply. She says we're betraying our heritage. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar weight of family drama threatening to overshadow everything we'd worked for. Martha, this festival isn't about taking sides. It's about bringing people together. Maybe if Melissa came, she'd understand that. I don't know, dear, Martha replied, but I could hear the curiosity in her voice. The photos in the newspaper did look lovely, and Sarah told me about all the activities you've planned for the children. After we hung up, I found Dan in the garage, painting welcome signs in different languages. Your mom called. I told him, helping him straighten a banner. Sounds like the family is interested in coming. All of them, he asked, raising an eyebrow. Well, except Melissa. She's still, I trailed off, not wanting to say, being Melissa. Dan put down his paintbrush and pulled me into a hug. Hey, remember what you told me when we started this? It's not about them anymore. Look at what you've created. He was right. Outside, I could see Lily teaching her friends the dance steps she'd been practicing. Mrs. Patel's daughter was showing them how to adjust their hand positions, while Mr. Chen's son added some contemporary moves to their routine. They were laughing, creating something new together, unbothered by the artificial boundaries adults so often created. 2 days before the festival, disaster struck. Our main venue, the community center, had a pipe burst. Sophia called me in tears. The repairs won't be done in time. What are we going to do? I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by festival plans, feeling the panic rise. We had over 400 people planning to attend. Vendors had ordered food. Performers had practiced for weeks. We couldn't just cancel. That's when I heard a knock at the door. It was Mrs. Chen, Mr. Chen's wife, who rarely spoke but always seemed to know when help was needed. Behind her stood several other community members. We heard about the community center, she said softly. We want to help. My husband's warehouse, it's big, clean, and empty right now. We can use it. Before I could process the offer, others chimed in. My son's construction company can help set up temporary flooring, one woman offered. We have industrial fans for ventilation, said another. My catering company has spare tables and chairs, a third volunteered. Within hours, our crisis had turned into something beautiful. The warehouse transformation began immediately, with community members working together like they'd been doing it for years. Even the mayor stopped by, bringing city maintenance workers to help with the setup. That evening, exhausted but grateful, I checked my phone and found a message from my niece, Melissa's daughter. Aunt Maya, is it okay if I still come? Mom says I can't, but Dad says he'll bring me. I really want to see Lily dance. I showed the message to Dan, who smiled. Think this might be the beginning of a change? Maybe, I said, thinking of all the walls that had already come down in the past few weeks. Or maybe it's just people finally choosing to see what was always there. The day before the festival, our transformed warehouse looked magical. Strings of lights crisscrossed the ceiling, colorful banners representing different cultures hung from the walls, and the smell of various cuisines being prepped filled the air. The performance area was set up, complete with professional sound equipment donated by a local music store. As I stood there, taking it all in, Sophia rushed over with news. Maya, you won't believe this. The registrations just hit 500. We had to start a waiting list. 500 people. In our small town, that was nearly a tenth of the population, all coming together to celebrate our differences and similarities. That night, as I helped Lily lay out her costume for tomorrow's performance, she asked me something that made my heart swell. Mama, do you think next year we can teach Aunt Melissa's kids some of our dances too? Maybe, sweetheart, I replied, smoothing her dress. Sometimes people just need time to open their hearts. Looking at my daughter's hopeful face, I realized that while Melissa's exclusion had hurt, it had also led us here, to creating something far more meaningful than we could have imagined. Sometimes the best traditions start not with rigid rules about who belongs, but with an open door and a simple invitation to join in. As I fell asleep that night, I wondered who would actually show up tomorrow, and whether our family would choose unity over division. But looking at everything we'd already accomplished, I knew that either way, we'd already succeeded in creating something beautiful. The morning of the Cultural Unity Festival dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the warehouse early, my heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nerves. Already, vendors were setting up their stalls, the air filling with the mingled aromas of dishes from around the world. Maya, Sophia called out, rushing over with her clipboard. The line outside, you need to see this. I followed her to the entrance and froze. The line stretched around the block. Families of all backgrounds, dressed in both traditional outfits and casual wear, chatting excitedly as they waited. Among them, I spotted familiar faces, Dan's cousins, some of our nieces and nephews, and even a few of Melissa's closest friends. Then I saw her, Martha, my mother-in-law, standing uncertainly near the entrance, wearing the traditional dress she usually reserved for family festivals. When she caught my eye, she hurried over. I hope it's all right that I came early, she said, twisting her hands. I thought perhaps you could use some help. Before I could respond, Lily came running up. Grandma, you came, she threw herself into Martha's arms. Want to see my dance costume, and Mama made your favorite dumplings, the ones you taught her. Martha's eyes welled up. You still make those. Every family recipe matters, I said softly, even when we're not invited to share them. The festival opened with a bang, literally as the local Chinese drum ensemble began their performance. The warehouse transformed into a vibrant marketplace of culture and connection. Children darted between stalls, collecting stamps in their passport books. Elderly community members taught traditional crafts to eager learners. The performance area stayed packed as different groups shared their music and dance. Midway through the morning, during Lily's dance performance, I noticed more familiar faces in the crowd. Dan's entire extended family had arrived, including aunts and uncles who hadn't spoken to us in years. They watched, mesmerized, as their grandnieces and nephews performed a fusion dance that blended classical Indian moves with contemporary steps. Did you teach them all this? One of Dan's aunts asked me, gesturing to the children. They taught each other, I replied. That's the beauty of it. The afternoon brought an unexpected moment. I was helping at the henna station when I heard a familiar voice. Could I get one too? It was Melissa's daughter, Emma, with her father. She wouldn't meet my eyes, but her voice was eager. Mom doesn't know we're here, she whispered. But I saw the videos online of everyone practicing, and, of course you can, I said, patting the chair beside me. And maybe you can teach me some of your spring festival dances sometime. As I drew the henna pattern on her hand, I told her stories about her father's childhood, about the festivals I grew up with, about how traditions grow stronger when shared. Her father watched, something softening in his expression. The festival's closing ceremony was a community dinner, hundreds of people seated at long tables, sharing dishes from every culture represented. Martha sat next to me, her plate piled with a colorful mixture of foods. I've been so foolish, she said suddenly, putting down her fork. All these years, watching Melissa push you away, telling myself it was about preserving tradition. I was wrong. This, she gestured around at the laughing, chatting crowd, this is what tradition should be. Just then, my phone buzzed with a message from Melissa. Mom told me how many people came, said it was beautiful. Maybe next year we could talk about combining the spring festival with your event. I showed the message to Dan, who squeezed my hand. We both knew it wasn't a full apology, but it was a start, a crack in the wall she built. As the evening wound down, I stood on the small stage for a final thank you, looking out at the crowd, at the children still dancing together, the elderly couples sharing stories, the teenagers teaching each other phrases in different languages. I felt tears in my eyes. When we started planning this festival, I said, some people thought we were trying to replace old traditions with new ones. But that's not what happened here. Today, we didn't erase anyone's culture, we celebrated all of them. We showed our children that there's room for everyone's stories, everyone's heritage, everyone's love. The applause that followed wasn't just for me or the festival, it was for every person who had helped create this moment, who had chosen to open their hearts to something new. Later that night, as we cleaned up, Lily tugged on my sleeve. Mama, Emma asked if I could teach her dance class at her house next week. Can I? I hugged her close, remembering the scared little girl who used to cry about being different. Of course you can, sweetheart. That's how new traditions begin. And looking around at our transformed warehouse, at the lingering evidence of a day filled with joy and connection, I knew she was right. Sometimes the best traditions aren't the ones we inherit, but the ones we create together, with open hearts and open doors. The kids' table is all set up. Margaret's voice rang through her massive dining room, dripping with fake sweetness. I watched as my mother-in-law gestured dramatically toward the rickety card table tucked into the corner, complete with mismatched plastic chairs and paper plates. Emma, dear, you and David can sit there with your little ones. My name is Emma Collins, and for the past 8 years, I've been relegated to the kids' table at every family gathering, despite being a 34-year-old pediatrician married to her precious son, David. It wasn't just about the seating, it was about making sure I knew my place in the family hierarchy. I glanced at my husband, David, who was helping our twins, Sophie and Lucas, hang up their coats. He caught my eye and gave me an apologetic smile. He knew how much this bothered me, how confronting his mother had never ended well. Mom, David started, maybe we could rearrange the main table to fit everyone? The twins are 7 now, and... Oh, don't be silly, Margaret interrupted, adjusting her perfectly pressed linen tablecloth. The adults' table is already arranged just so. Besides, Emma won't mind sitting with the children. After all, she works with them all day. I bit my tongue, remembering the conversation David and I had in the car on the way over. Just 3 more months, he'd whispered, squeezing my hand. Then we'll show them what a real family gathering looks like. The adults' table was a sight to behold. Fine china, crystal glasses, and elaborate centerpieces. Margaret's daughter Patricia sat there with her husband, despite being younger than me. So did cousin Sarah and her new boyfriend of 2 months. But somehow, there was never room for us. Come on, kids, I said cheerfully, leading Sophie and Lucas to our designated spot. Let's make our table the fun table. As we settled into our wobbly chairs, I could hear Margaret's voice carrying across the room. Patricia, darling, tell everyone about your new interior design project. She's doing the governor's summer home, you know. I pulled out my phone under the table, opening the photos from our contractor. The renovation was almost complete, our dream home, the one we'd been secretly working on for the past year. 4,000 square feet of carefully designed space with a dining room that could seat 30 comfortably. No more card tables, no more plastic chairs, no more artificial divisions. Sophie tugged at my sleeve. "Mommy, why does Grandma always make us sit here?" I looked at my daughter's innocent face and smiled. "Sometimes, sweetheart, people think they can make themselves feel bigger by making others feel smaller. But do you know what's better than that?" "What?" Lucas chimed in, already sporting a gravy stain on his holiday sweater. "Creating a space where everyone feels welcome," I said, pulling up a picture of their soon-to-be playroom on my phone. Their eyes widened with excitement, but they remembered our secret, no telling Grandma about the new house until it was ready. Throughout dinner, Margaret's pointed comments continued to fly. "Emma, dear, those paper plates should be fine for you. We wouldn't want any accidents with the good china." And later, "Oh, the children's table seems to be having such simple fun. That's really more your speed, isn't it?" David kept shooting me supportive glances from his spot at the main table, where Margaret insisted he sit with the adults. We'd both grown tired of this treatment, but our response wouldn't be angry words or confrontations. No, we had something much better planned. As dessert wound down, Margaret stood up, clinking her crystal glass. "I'd like to announce that this year's Christmas celebration will be extra special. We're having it catered by that exclusive company that did Patricia's gallery opening. Of course, we'll need to maintain proper seating arrangements." I felt David's hand on my shoulder as he came to join us at the kids' table. "Actually, Mom," he said, his voice clear and confident, "Emma and I will be hosting Christmas this year." The silence that fell over the room was delicious. Margaret's perfectly made-up face froze in a half-smile. "Don't be ridiculous, David. You live in that tiny starter home. Where would everyone sit?" "We've moved," I said simply, meeting her gaze. "We'd love to have everyone over to see the new place." Patricia snickered from her spot at the main table. "What did you upgrade to a slightly larger starter home?" "You could say we've upgraded," David replied, winking at the twins. "We'll send out the invitations next week." As we drove home that evening, the twins chattering excitedly in the back seat about their new playroom, David reached over and squeezed my hand. "Did you see Mom's face?" I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Just wait until she sees what we've done with the place. No more kids' table, just one big family table where everyone belongs." 3 more weeks until we move in," David said, "and 4 until Christmas." I smiled, thinking about the massive dining room table we commissioned, handcrafted from warm cherry wood. No more artificial divisions, no more power plays disguised as seating arrangements. Just one family together. Margaret had no idea what was coming, but she was about to learn that sometimes the people you try to minimize end up building something bigger than you could imagine. The invitations went out exactly 3 weeks before Christmas. I'd chosen elegant cream-colored cards with gold embossing, each one hand-addressed. As I dropped them in the mailbox, I couldn't help but smile, thinking about Margaret's reaction when she opened hers. Our new home was finally ready. The moving trucks had just left, and I stood in our grand entryway, still amazed at how everything had come together. The cathedral ceilings, the sweeping staircase, the floor-to-ceiling windows that filled every room with natural light. It was everything we dreamed of and more. But the crown jewel was the dining room. A magnificent space with coffered ceilings and French doors opening onto a stone terrace. The centerpiece was our custom-made table, a single stunning piece that could seat 24 comfortably. No divisions, no separate sections, just one unified space where everyone would be equal. The phone call started rolling in almost immediately after the invitations were delivered. Patricia was first. "Emma, there must be some mistake. This address is in Oakwood Heights." Her voice dripped with disbelief. Oakwood Heights was the most prestigious neighborhood in town, the one where Margaret had always dreamed of living. "No mistake," I replied cheerfully. "We'd love to have you join us for Christmas dinner. We're thinking of starting a new tradition." Margaret's call came next. David put it on speaker so we could both hear. "David, darling," she began, her voice tight with forced control, "this invitation. Surely you're not serious about hosting Christmas? You know how particular everyone is about the traditions we've established." "Actually, Mom, we are serious," David replied, winking at me. "Emma's been planning the menu for weeks. We thought it would be nice to share our new home with the family." "New home." Her voice rose an octave. "In Oakwood Heights. How could you possibly?" Well, Mom, it turns out that when you're both successful professionals who save and invest wisely, you can afford nice things, David said firmly. We'd love to have you there. Emma's designed a beautiful table setting that will accommodate everyone together. The silence on the other end was deafening. Together, Margaret finally managed. But what about the children? Where will they? There won't be a separate kids' table, I cut in smoothly. We believe family celebrations should bring everyone together, not create divisions. After we hung up, David pulled me into a hug. You're amazing, he whispered. Have I told you that lately? The twins came running in from exploring their new playroom, their eyes shining with excitement. Can we help decorate for Christmas? Sophie asked, bouncing on her toes. Of course, I smiled. This is our family home, and we'll all help make it special. Over the next week, we transformed the house into a winter wonderland. Crystal garlands draped the staircase, while twinkling lights framed every window. The twins helped me set up 3 Christmas trees, one in the living room, one in the family room, and a special one in their playroom. But my favorite decoration was the dining room. I'd chosen a color scheme of deep burgundy and gold, with elegant table runners and hand-picked china for each place setting. The centerpiece was a stunning arrangement of winter flowers and gilt branches that ran the length of the table. At each place, I set a personalized place card, including one for Margaret at the middle of the table, not at the head where she'd expect. Patricia drove by the house twice. We saw her car slow down as she passed, taking in the scope of our new home. The second time, she had Margaret with her. They sat in their car for several minutes just staring. Should we invite them in? David asked, watching from the window. I shook my head. Let them wait until Christmas. Some presents are better opened on the actual day. The night before Christmas Eve, as David and I were putting the final touches on the decorations, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. You know what I love most about this house? He asked. What? That it's not about showing off or putting anyone in their place. It's about creating a space where everyone can feel welcome and valued, even Mom, after everything. That's who you are, Emma. That's why I fell in love with you. I turned to face him, feeling tears prick at my eyes. Even after she made me sit at the kids' table all those years, he wiped a tear from my cheek, especially after that. Because instead of getting bitter, you decided to build something better, something that could heal our family instead of dividing it. The twins appeared in their pajamas, asking for one more story before bed. As we all cuddled on the plush sofa in the family room, I looked around at our new home. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve, and the day after that would bring either a new chapter for our family or, well, I tried not to think about the alternative. Mommy, Lucas asked sleepily, will Grandma be nice at Christmas? I stroked his hair, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes, sweetheart, people need to be shown a better way. That's what we're going to try to do, show everyone that family means being together, not apart. As I tucked them into their beds in their new rooms, I caught sight of Margaret's house keys sitting on my dresser. She'd given them to us years ago for emergencies, though she'd used them more than once to drop by unannounced and offer unwanted criticism about our old home. Tomorrow I would give them back to her, along with a new set of keys to our house. Because despite everything, we were family, and in this home, everyone would have a place at the table. Morning dawned bright and clear, sunlight sparkling off the fresh snow that had fallen overnight. I stood in our kitchen, surrounded by the aroma of roasting turkey and freshly baked cookies, watching the twins build a snowman through the window. They're here, Sophie called out, spotting Margaret's car pulling into our circular driveway. I smoothed down my dress and took a deep breath. David appeared beside me, squeezing my hand. Ready? Ready, I nodded. We opened the front door before they could ring the bell. Margaret stood there in her designer coat, clutching her signature cheese plate, her eyes widening as she took in the soaring entryway with its crystal chandelier and marble floors. Welcome to our home, I said, warmly genuine despite our history. Please come in. Patricia and her husband arrived moments later, followed by the other relatives. I watched their faces as they entered, knowing their barely concealed shock at the house's grandeur. But it wasn't about showing off. Each room had been designed with family in mind, from the cozy reading nooks to the game room that could keep kids and adults entertained for hours. The dining room is through here, I announced, leading the group down the hallway. As we entered, I heard several gasps. The room was magical. Sunlight streamed through the French doors, making the crystal stemware sparkle. Candles flickered in silver holders down the length of the table, and the burgundy and gold decorations created an atmosphere of warmth and elegance. "But where will the children sit?" Margaret asked, her voice small. "Right here with us," I smiled, gesturing to the beautiful place settings I created for the twins, complete with their own crystal water glasses. "We believe family means being together." Margaret's eyes landed on her place card, not at the head of the table where she clearly expected to be, but in the middle, surrounded by family on all sides. For a moment, I thought she might object, but then something unexpected happened. "It's beautiful," she whispered, touching the place card with trembling fingers. "All of it." As everyone found their seats, I noticed Patricia studying the hand-painted china. "These are Haviland," she said, surprised. "Like the set Mom always uses." "Yes," I nodded. I remembered how much Margaret loves them. I thought it would be nice to incorporate something familiar. The first few minutes were awkward as everyone adjusted to the new dynamic. But then Lucas started telling a story about his snowman adventure, and Sophie chimed in with her own details. Their childish enthusiasm was infectious, and soon the adults were laughing and sharing their own childhood winter memories. I watched as Margaret slowly relaxed, especially when she realized she could easily talk to everyone at the table, not just those seated directly next to her. The conversation flowed naturally, weaving between adults and children, with no artificial divisions. During dessert, Margaret cleared her throat. "Emma, David, I owe you both an apology." The table fell silent. "For years I've been terrible to you, Emma, especially with that ridiculous kids' table arrangement." She dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. "I thought I was maintaining standards, traditions, but looking around today, I realize you've created something far better than anything I could have imagined." David reached over and squeezed my hand under the table. "This home," Margaret continued, "is not just beautiful because of its size or its furnishings. It's beautiful because you've made it a place where everyone truly belongs. I've been so wrong for so long." I stood up and walked over to her chair, pulling a small wrapped package from my pocket. "I got you something," I said softly, handing it to her. She opened it to find a set of house keys tied with a red ribbon. "These are for here," I explained. "Because despite everything, we're family. And in this house, there will always be a place for you, at the main table." Margaret stood up and hugged me, something she had never done before. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me a better way." Later that evening, after the dishes were cleared and the leftovers packed away, we all gathered in the family room. The twins were showing their cousins their new toys. The adults were chatting by the fireplace, and Margaret was actually sitting on the floor, helping Sophie build a Lego castle. "Mommy," Lucas called out, "can we do this again next year?" I looked around the room at our blended family, no longer separated by artificial barriers or seating arrangements. I think I smiled, catching David's eye. This is the start of a new tradition. As the evening wound down and our guests prepared to leave, Margaret pulled me aside. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I always thought I was teaching you about family traditions, but you've taught me what family really means." I watched from our front door as everyone drove away, snow starting to fall again in the golden light of our porch lamps. David wrapped his arms around me from behind. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Like we've built something bigger than a house," I replied. "We've built a home where healing can happen." That night, as I tucked the twins into bed, Sophie asked, "Mommy, did we fix Grandma?" I smiled, smoothing her hair. "Sometimes, sweetheart, people just need to be shown that there's a better way to do things. And sometimes the best way to change someone's heart is to make room for them at your table." The kids' table was gone, but something much more precious had taken its place. A family united, gathering around one table, creating memories that would last a lifetime.